everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the Recruitment Roundup podcast, which is brought to you by BMS Performance. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, BMS Performance is a specialist sales and marketing recruitment consultancy. For the last 30 years, we've been helping businesses across the UK recruit for vacancies at every level. I'm your host, Mike Leather, and every week I'll be joined by a new guest where we'll get stuck into the latest trends in regards to recruitment. We'll talk about insights, we share ideas, we share experiences, and ultimately we look to provide value to fundamentally help you, whether or not you're a hiring manager, a business leader, or part of an internal talent team, to recruit smarter, faster, and more effectively. Okay, so welcome to the show, Kate Peel. Nice to have you here.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great. I'm looking forward to this one. Where we're going to be discussing a subject that we've not yet covered on any of the other podcasts, which is in relation to graduate sales recruitment. So I think for our listeners, whether or not you've ever recruited a graduate into a sales role before, or whether you've got experience in doing so, hopefully you'll find this podcast, this episode, insightful. You'll find it interesting, and you'll get something from it. But as is customary now, before we get into any of that, Kate, why don't you introduce yourself, talk about what it is you do at BMS, and also how you got into recruitment as well?
Okay, of course I can. Yeah. So, hi, my name's Kate. So I'm the managing consultant here in our graduate division at BMS. So I've been with the company for nearing on 4 years now, and actually started as a graduate myself. So came through our graduate recruitment process just after I finished university, looking for my first kind of proper career job. And I've been with the company ever since, sort of grown, developed, moved from the Midlands to Manchester, and sort of fell into recruitment, to be completely honest with you. Was looking for a role where you can earn quite a lot of money, got offered the job, and here I am 4 years later. So that's a bit about me, really.
I think a lot of people fall into recruitment, don't they? It's one of the things that you get into and you just end up loving it and getting drawn into it, and that's you, isn't it?
Definitely. And I can speak honestly, before I started in recruitment, I was a little bit clueless, as I think most people are, especially at a graduate level. It's something that I guess you've never really come across before. So it was one of those that it seemed like a good opportunity. I went for it, and here I am.
There you are. How many years have you been here now?
So nearing on 4. 4 years, it'll be 4 in July. So time flies.
It does. That's the thing about recruitment. I think it just feels like time goes so fast.
Definitely. Even the weeks, you blink and it's Friday and you're thinking, God, where's that week gone? So it does fly by.
Yeah, indeed. So I guess I wanted to kick this off, being mindful of our audience who might never recruited a salesperson into a graduate into a sales role before. So when we say graduate sales recruitment, if you could just explain what we mean by that phrase.
So we typically, at a graduate level, will be looking to help candidates who are at the start of their professional career. So it's almost the first professional role that these candidates will be taking on. People who maybe have studied, or they're getting to that point in their life where they're done with sort of the part-time jobs that they've done, or they're looking to kickstart a career, and that focus being on sales roles. So lots of varying types of sales roles, but it's those entry level sales positions, and people at the start of their career, really.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So what is it when you're working with graduates? What is a typical graduate profile?
So it can differ. We use the word graduate because the main bulk of the candidates that we will see coming through the process with us are candidates who have been to university, who have studied a variety of different degrees. It's not just maybe what you would assume with business management or finance. It's all sorts of degrees that people have decided to do. post university, graduated, and then looking to start a career in sales. So that is the main bulk of a lot of the candidates that we deal with. But equally, sort of removing the word graduate from it, we still deal with people who potentially haven't been to university, who have taken a different route, maybe apprenticeships, college qualifications, taken various different routes, traveling, working abroad, but it will still be the main focus of that person at the start of their professional career. Not necessarily always with a degree, but equally have other life experience rather than going down that typical university route.
Yeah, how important is what degree someone's done as far as them being a fit for a B2B sales role generally?
It honestly doesn't matter, to be completely honest with you. I think when you leave school and you have to pick what you are going to study at university, it's very hard at that age to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. So what we find is that most sort of candidates at that level will have picked something that they either do well in or that they enjoy doing, because what else do you really have to go on unless you've kind of got a set career route that you ideally need to train for. It does tend to be more of a yes, it's something I'm good at, so I'm just going to pursue it a little bit further. And what you'll then find is at the end of the 3 years, most degrees will give you those core transferable skills that you need to get into a sales role. There's no kind of set education, I guess, that you need to be successful in sales. It's about the person, the attitude, the drive, and any degree background can be relevant for it. It's more so what the candidate then wants at that stage of their life, as opposed to, I guess, having super specific relevant educational experience.
Yeah, makes sense. What are some of the main drivers then that you see when you're working with graduate level candidates as to why they're saying that they want to move into B2B sales as opposed to doing a different type of job and a different discipline, etc. What's some like the common reasons people are wanting to get into sales?
I think especially at this level, there's the main people that we see are people who are relatively driven by earning potential. So a lot of graduate roles in various different industries, the salaries tend to match the fact that people are at an entry level, whereas sales, as you know, is very much about you get out what you put in. So although it may be the first professional role that you take, the salaries, the earning potential, the progression opportunity doesn't necessarily mirror that you would have if you went into a career that, you do almost have to climb the ladder in the way that it's structured and that it's set. So that's what you typically tend to find. It's very driven people who want to earn pretty decent money relatively early on in their career are the types of people that we would see. And the reasons that they would want to be going to sales, or people who have family or friends or people that they know who work in this type of industry, and almost see no other route as being a career opportunity. My dad was in sales, and it's something that from a young age, for me, that seemed like a career opportunity because it was what I was exposed to. And that's the other option that you find is if they know people in this type of industry, they see that being the way to go because they see what you can get out of it, really.
Yeah, I think I'm biased personally. I think sales and recruitment are the best industry in the world. I couldn't imagine working anywhere else. And I've worked with graduates before in my recruitment experience at BMS, but my experience is more geared towards helping companies recruit for experienced sales roles. So what do you enjoy most about working with candidates at a graduate level?
I think the candidates that we deal with, because they're so fresh in their job search, in their professional career, they just have so much that they want to learn, and they've still got that fire in their belly because they've just finished university. They've probably been living off a student loan and noodles for the last 3 years of their life. And they're in a position where they finally have kind of got that freedom. They're out of education, they're out of probably living with their parents. It's the first step into their almost grown-up life. So you see lots of graduates, lots of entry-level candidates who maybe they're getting this job to move into a big city to live with their friends, and it's almost like the hope that they have at that level is that they're just so excited and they've got so much fire in their belly to really get their teeth stuck in and just learn. and yeah, you have some weird and wonderful things that you hear, but because they are still at a level where they are still relatively fresh into this career,
Yeah.
yeah, they come out with some weird and wonderful things on a regular basis, which is always exciting.
Yeah. I've got a couple of memories tripling in for when I used to recruit graduates. Okay, cool. Okay, so if I'm a client, I've not recruited a graduate before. Or I'm a decision maker, even hiring manager rather than a client. I've not recruited a
Mhm.
graduate before. Um, what types of jobs in my sales team might suit a graduate? Because certainly within my team and in our market, we're seeing a lot of companies are struggling to recruit for more of those junior entry
Yeah,
level sales roles, definitely new business roles,
yeah.
internal sales roles. But a lot of them are very much fixed on must have previous B2B experience. So, yeah, I guess in your experience, what types of jobs are you finding graduates are going into and doing well in?
Yeah. So the main focus of the roles that we will place into are your new business lead generation type positions, your SDR roles, your BDR roles,
Mm,
because of the fact, as you said, that when people do maybe have a bit more experience, it's a role that they're less wanting and less desirable to do,
mm,
is that start of the sales funnel where it's high volume of activity outreach, it's various different methods, video outreach, and you need someone who is almost fresh, who's hungry to just want to take that on. And because you start graduates in these new business roles, they typically learn from the ground up, and they like the
mm,
fact that they then can develop their knowledge as they go, and
mm,
kind of grow and develop into potentially more senior roles, knowing how the business works from the ground up.
yeah.
Especially those positions, the new business ones that have a high earning potential. These graduates are people that, as I said, they're typically people that want to earn money,
Mm,
and they're very much just getting that commercial exposure, the experience learning from more senior people. It's normally a good place to start so that they kind of learn at a rate that is manageable and that they can develop a long-standing career from. We do work on account manager positions as well. They're fewer
mm,
and far in between. They tend to be, I guess, for those people who are more focused on the relationship building side of things. Yes, they've still got that underlying sense of drive and earning potential that they want to get, but they're more the person that would be able to manage slightly more professional relationships,
yeah.
someone who's maybe is a little bit more mature. And again, with field sales roles as well at a graduate level, they're normally someone who's had, I guess, a little bit more life experience, maybe someone who's graduated university, has gone away for a couple of years, has got that life experience, is a bit more mature and happy to work independently, but is
Mm,
still very much new into a professional career.
yeah.
So I'd say they're kind of the three main roles that we would look at recruiting into. But as I said, the main bulk is that new business lead generation, just because it's hungry, fresh graduates who want to be thrown in, who want to learn, and who, for them, any experience is going to be new. So I guess they're happy to take on those roles that someone with a little bit more experience may not be as willing to do.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Um, when companies are hiring people at this level, and they're doing well, what sort of are the sort of next steps up for like graduates? Like, where are they going to get progressed to typically? How long does that usually take for people that are
It
joining the role?
honestly, yeah, I mean, it can differ depending on what that set progression looks like, and each of the individual companies will obviously have their own set
Mm,
progression. But in reality, we would see people moving from this lead generation role probably within their first 9 to
okay.
18 months
Pretty
within
quick
a
then.
company.
Yeah.
So pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously company product sales cycle dependent, but it is very much that kind of starter role to get someone in a professional environment,
Mm,
to educate them on phone manner, on professional ways to handle conversations, that fast-paced, target-driven environment. You're almost easing them in with that, and the progression can happen, as I said, relatively quickly, as long as the candidates are putting in the effort to make that happen.
Yeah, because I guess for companies that are bringing in graduates, you've got someone there with no preconceived ideas, have you, that are
Exactly.
moldable. So
Yeah,
if you're recruiting for an appointment making role, but you want someone who's done an appointment making role before, chances are, in most cases, not all, but in most cases, if they were good, you'd like to think they might have progressed to doing software
exactly.
and account executive. So bringing someone in who hasn't done that before sees it as it's not just a step up, but they're excited to do it, aren't they?
And
So sorry to take one.
I was going to say, and even adding on that, what you said about no preconceived ideas, it can be, in fact, easier to train someone who's
Yeah.
never had any exposure to this type of industry over someone who has had a little bit of
Mm,
experience, because those people may have set ways of doing things. They may, be naturally inclined to do things in certain ways, whereas a graduate is a blank canvas and they are coachable, they're wanting to learn, they're still in that growth and development mindset, and they are happy to almost take the constructive criticism because they're still wanting that development, and you can kind of start from the ground up with them, really.
yeah. If you think about the all the companies that you recruit graduates into, what industry sectors take on the most sales graduates, and what industry sectors are more quiet in that regard?
To be completely honest with you, there isn't really, much to differentiate.
Mm,
It's purely about who's looking to grow their sales team at what time. A lot of
mm,
the roles that we work on will be technology-based companies
okay.
who
Yeah.
need that level of outreach. So they need those SDRs, they need lots of phone calls. But having said that, we also work with companies more so in the manufacturing industries. We work with construction companies. There's no real set industry, I would say. The tech at the moment is obviously an industry that's been thriving, so hence why we've
Yeah.
seen a lot of growth in those industries and therefore a lot of need for an increased sales team.
Mm.
But honestly, there's no real set industry where it would be more beneficial or less beneficial. Yeah, every industry can add value from having grads in the team, definitely.
Okay, and now hopefully your answer to this question will be helpful for listeners who haven't recruited a graduate before. But what are we talking average salary wise across the
So
UK to recruit someone into a role like these that we're talking about?
yeah, I mean, if you're looking into sort of central London, you're probably looking between your sort of 27 to 30 as a basic salary based on the
Right.
market conditions at the moment. Expecting on that to be earning anywhere between sort of 5 to 10 on top of their basic salary in their first
Okay.
year. Not what it once was, I can tell you that, but it's definitely seen an increase in the last sort of couple of years, as most industries have. More so if you're looking outside of central London, you're looking kind of your 23 to
Okay.
25 as the basic. Just again with the same sort of earning potential on top of that expected in your first year. So yeah, they're competitive salaries.
Mm.
And that's why we tend to place good people there, because
Yeah.
the companies are offering the salaries that get the good people in and entice, especially with these people being money motivated individuals. It's good to attract them with a salary that they feel is justified.
Yes, that brings me on to the next point, because like every market sector, there's going to be companies that recruit really well, and there's going to be companies that struggle. So how competitive is the graduate sales market? And if you look at maybe some of the companies that you work with that hire well, and by the word well, I mean in a timely fashion, good candidate experience, all that great stuff. What are they doing differently than the rest? So two questions.
Yeah, so competitive is the
Yeah.
answer to your first question. It's such a fast-paced market. People will, interview one day and be off the market the next day, especially post-COVID, where a lot more of the interviewing processes have become virtual, meaning you can access talent a lot quicker and get through that interviewing process a lot quicker. People will be off the market within the blink of an eye, hence why you have got to be that company that's offering the packages that people are wanting to see.
Mm,
um the main companies that we see that are attracting the best talent and are retaining the best talent, salary is obviously important. It's not necessarily make or break for a lot of graduates, as long as it's within sort of the estimated salary brackets that we've mentioned before. The difference between 28 and 29, it doesn't tend to be the main influencer if they are that close in comparison. It's a combination of things. What we've noticed, and again, this may be more post-pandemic, is the desire for work-life balance and culture. I think that nowadays, more so than ever, young people are looking for a role that, yes, they will give 110% to, but not where they're giving their whole life and slaving to it. So,
Yeah.
you're looking for people who are saying, yeah, I'd love to be working hybrid because, it gives me more opportunity to see family and, to do things outside of work. So I'd say that that's a big draw at the moment, is offering flexibility in the work schedule to keep competitive. And another thing as well is training and development opportunities. Pretty much every single graduate that we speak to, when we ask what they're looking for from that next opportunity, they're looking for roles and companies that are going to invest in them as individuals and make them feel valued. Because there is so much competition out there, if people aren't feeling valued, if they're not feeling recognized for their work, if they don't feel that they're having people aren't investing in them and their growth, they will just tend to jump ship, because there are so many other options out there that do offer it. So I'd say, to sort of summarize, yes, money is obviously important to keep competitive, but for graduates, that work-life balance, culture, and development opportunity is up there in terms of what they can potentially be earning.
Yeah, so I guess the employers that are recruiting, well, they've got to be shouting about all that stuff as well, haven't they, on
100%.
the website, the socials. We talked about this quite a lot on the podcast, but it's really important at this level, I
Yeah,
reckon, as well.
massively so. And it's become so much more normal now that I guess people, of a younger generation, when they're coming into the working environment, they almost have never experienced what we once did, of everyone going to work 5 days a week and there being no flexibility. Their understanding of what work is that you work from home a couple of days a week, you go in a couple of days a week, and if anything, it's more rare for them to hear a job where you have to go into the office 5 days a week and there's no flexibility on that, which I know has changed. Even when I started 4 years ago, that was how it was done. Everyone went to the office Monday to Friday, and that was just how people went to work. But the shift in people's mentalities over the last 3-4 years, it really is now the norm, that offering sort of more of a flexible hybrid working is seen as something that is, very, very desirable, but equally almost expected to a certain extent, I think.
So when we're working with clients that are saying in the office 5 days a week,
Yeah.
how hard are they finding it to attract people?
Having said everything that we've just said, there are
Mm.
still graduates
Yeah.
who want that development opportunity to be in
Yeah.
an office, and I guess it depends where the offices are based. If they're easily accessible and
Yeah.
people can walk into the office or hop on a tube and get into the office, and it's not too difficult to get there, then you have people who are still very happy to go in and to be in for the 5 days a week.
Yeah.
A lot of companies that we work with have almost moved to a model that candidates will go in every single day until they're at a level that they're
Yeah.
capable,
Yeah.
and that they're demonstrating that they're performing. So therefore, I guess the flexibility is more so a benefit of performance, and that
Performance.
they've
Yeah.
hit
Makes
a
sense.
certain level. And that's fine. A lot of graduates, when they do start out, they probably quite like having a team around them that they can ask questions, and that they've got people in the same shoes as them, so that they don't feel isolated at home. And as well as that, a lot of graduates who maybe went to uni during the pandemic are sometimes a bit sick of being sat on a computer. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Of
idea
course.
of fully remote working also isn't massively attractive, because they want to have, again, leaning back to that culture, and that development opportunity. They want that. So it's sort of in the middle of, yes, they want hybrid, they wouldn't want fully remote, but also the flexibility is more so an attractive feature, I think.
Yeah, because we learn so much, don't we, by osmosis, and we see it at BMS when we bring new people on. They learn the most from being around other people doing a similar role, and that makes me think then about not every company is geared up to recruit someone at a graduate level. It might sound like a great idea listening to this podcast, but just to add some balance to it, you've got to make sure that you can onboard these people, right? And you've got a plan for that. You touched on training and development because it's just so key, isn't it? Because you don't underestimate the amount of help that these people might need as well.
And this is the thing, there are so many benefits to hiring graduates. Some of them we've touched on already. You've got someone who's fresh, who's hungry, who's moldable, who wants to learn, but also you have to be in a position that you can provide an environment for them to receive that. Because as you've said, they do need help, and they're so fresh and they haven't been in this type of environment before. So if you don't have the infrastructure or the time to give to someone of this level, you may struggle to see the best out of them because they don't know what they're doing in most cases. And you have to be willing to commit that time to them. And if you can commit that time to them, that's when you really start to see the best out of them.
Right. But they typically learn quick and pick things up fast because they're straight out of
100%
having to do that. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess again, I always like putting myself in the shoes of a client, but let's say I'm a client. I'm thinking, right, I'd be interested in bringing a graduate into the team for everything that we've discussed, but it's going to bring something new and exciting, some enthusiasm, more energy into the team, into the office. Naturally, I would think the best time to recruit a graduate is in the summer. People have graduated. Am I right in my thinking in that? And what else would you advise me of? Would you advise our audience of around like this subject?
So I can completely understand why you'd have that idea. People tend to graduate in sort of the spring, summertime. So naturally the influx of graduates is going to be at that time of year. It's a seasonal market with graduates. Some people who are studying master's degrees won't graduate until December time. So then you've got a new influx of graduates at that point. But equally, not every single graduate will want to go into work straight out of university. They've just studied for 3 years. You're hoping they studied quite hard for 3 years. And they may want a little bit of time to go and see the world, to spend time with friends and family. They may not be someone who's instantly going, right, I'm going straight into work the day after I graduate. So yes, you're right in the sense that it is a seasonal market. However, we would argue that there's no real right or wrong time to recruit a graduate, because there will be people all year round who are looking for their first graduate career, based on individual experiences, what they've chosen to do with their time. What you'll also find as well is if you do only stick to that time of year, that March, April, May, June, July time of year, there's so much more competition in the market in terms of other people might also want to be recruiting at that time of year. So you've got to be the person that's offering the thing that's going to attract everyone over all the other companies that are also recruiting. You've got to expect that there is going to be that extra level of competition. We source the graduate talent. We don't change the way that we assess people. We will always assess the same throughout the whole year. So yes, there may be a bigger influx in the summertime, but equally there will constantly be graduates of a good level that we are helping to place into different jobs all around the year. Some of our clients, we work with a client, Edmonton Electrical. They're a global electrical wholesale business. We work all year round with them. We hold multiple onboarding sessions for them, and there's been no real difference. We've had success with every onboarding session that we've done with them, and they recruit all year round. So companies like that are taking advantage of the fact that people think it is only the summer that you can recruit, by going at those times that maybe there are less people also recruiting.
It's a competitive piece, isn't it? Because if you're recruiting when everyone else is, you have to get through your interview processes much quicker, loads more sharper with that. Chances are anyone that's good you offer a job to are going to get several other offers on the table.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, and that's something that we do quite often see, is that there is competition, even with how quickly you can get people in for interview. There's so much other competition out there as well that it's tough. It is tough. So yes, arguably there is a seasonal change in terms of how we see graduates coming through the process, but I don't think there's ever really a right or wrong time to do it. It's when the business needs it, and it's, can you be that person who appeals to the graduates on the market at that time?
yeah, cool. Okay, so we're just wrapping up. Anything that you'd leave our audience with? Any advice? Anything that you're particularly excited about? Just as a finishing off point.
I think obviously being sort of immersed in the graduate recruitment world, it's obvious to us that there's so many benefits in recruiting
Yeah.
graduates. We see the candidates and the caliber of the candidates that we do see coming through the process with us on a weekly basis. So it seems obvious to us that it's a good route to go down, but I know that for a lot of companies out there, it could be a complete unknown. And, you maybe feel that hiring people with more experience is the better way to go. They're so coachable, they're so hungry, and the majority of graduates are looking to get their foot in the door for the long term. So yes, it's probably an investment of time, of resource, to get someone who is that fresh into a role. But in the long term, if you make the investment to start with, you'll typically see a good amount of success and longevity in these candidates if you continue to give them what they need to grow and develop, really. So hire grads is what I'd say.
That's a great way of finishing. Thank you so much for coming on. I think
No
really,
problem.
really, really, really good episode that, and I'm sure, as I said at the beginning, from the audience, whether the recruiter graduates regularly or they're new to it, would have got something from that. So
Good.
thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. So next week, I'll be joined by my colleague Rob Coombs, and we'll be back into the land of talking about experienced sales recruitment. So hoping everyone can join us again for that. So that wraps up another episode of the Recruitment Roundup podcast. Thank you very much for listening to the show, to watching the show. We really appreciate your support. It would be absolutely fantastic if you could give us a rating on Apple, on Spotify, give us a review. Any feedback really, really helps and is massively appreciated. So thank you once again for joining us, and we will hopefully see you again next week.